President of the African Development Bank, Akinwumi Adesina, says China is not trying to lead African countries into a debt trap. Instead, it is providing critical investment along with other countries to close a funding gap for crucial infrastructure projects on the continent. Debt sustainability was a key issue at this week's meeting hosted by Tokyo with African leaders and international lenders on development of the continent.
The interest and engagement of China in Africa is welcome, and it serves African countries in terms of meeting their infrastructure needs. Well, will I say there were no mistakes made in the beginning? No, I wouldn't say so. There are issues of sensitivity to local communities. There are issues of making sure you don't displace people in the labor market. But these are things, a learning experience, a learning curve for China as it's engaged in Africa. But when you look at what it is, I don't think there is a deliberate plan by China to indebt any country at all. I think China is fulfilling a very important role, which is in terms of infrastructure support. And for us, where infrastructure is still a challenge in terms of financing infrastructure, the continent still has a challenge. The issue of quality infrastructure is very important, and that is at the heart of our engagement with the government of Japan. Well, I don't see a competition at all. I see complementarity. Africa has tremendous amount of needs. Africa has, friends. Africa is a friend of China. Africa is a friend of Japan.
Here in Niger, school students in Niger State are helping to save the environment by planting trees. This comes on the heels of constant flooding and other environmental issues affecting the state. Organizers of the tree planting program say it's a Catch Them Young initiative to groom future leaders to imbibe safe environmental practices. Our correspondent, Empress Simon, has more.
Niger State is one among the states in Nigeria that has consistently shown signs of the effect of environmental degradation, with floods occurring annually. The conversations have centered around prevention. These children between the ages of 4 and 8 years are learning about their environment and how their actions or inactions affect it. They also plant trees.
People are cutting trees and it's bad for our environment, so we help the environment by planting trees today.
Planting trees make the environment wonderful, beautiful and safe.
Organizers lament the dangers posed by poor environmental practices on the younger generation.
We promote education. You should also understand that education is not exclusive, it is inclusive. So planting of trees is part of education, and giving it to young children, which is the heart of UNICEF, to see young children understanding to appreciate their community and appreciate their society and contribute to the society.
The kind of education we provide is supposed to be qualitative education that is environmental friendly. And what we have seen these days is that one of the SDG goals is ensuring that we live in a sustainable environment.
An effective government policy is therefore considered imperative.
Waste management must have a policy where you encourage how and punishment for who is not doing it. Issue of blockage of drainage or building water, these are all things that must be supported with policies.
Hopefully, the tender nurturing green fingers of these young ones would keep the over 3,000 trees so far planted alive to fulfill the purpose for which they have been planted. Emperor Simon, Channels Television News.
Catch them young. Now, a remarkably complete skull belonging to an early human ancestor that lived 3.8 million years ago has been discovered in Ethiopia. Scientists say the discovery sheds light on the evolutionary history of early human ancestors. Take a look.
The landmark discovery in Ethiopia of a nearly complete skull of an early human ancestor that lived 3.8 million years ago, a species that possesses an intriguing mixture of ape-like and human-like characteristics. The fossil, dubbed MRG, which provides insight into a pivotal period for the evolutionary lineage that eventually led to modern humans, belongs to the species Australopithecus anamensis, which first appeared roughly 4.2 million years ago.
this is really a game changer in a lot of ways and answers old questions that we've had lingering around for decades. And we got the answers now from this beautiful specimen that we found from the Woranzo-Milesteri area.
The MRD fossil hails from a time between 4.1 and 3.6 million years ago, when early human ancestor fossils are exceptionally scarce. The evolutionary lineage that led to people's split from the chimpanzee lineage, roughly 6 million to 7 million years ago, gradually acquiring traits such as upright walking, flatter face, and increased brain size through a succession of species. Our species, Homo sapiens, first appeared about 300,000 years ago in Africa. Until now, the oldest fossils were 3.9 million years ago. The age of the MRD fossil indicates these species coexisted for approximately 100,000 years with Lucy's species, challenging previous notions that the earlier species had evolved into the latter one with no overlap.
So now what we know is that Anamensis was probably the ancestor of Australopithecus afarensis, but their relationship was not linear. It was not like Anamensis disappeared and Australopithecus afarensis arose, but rather the ancestor, the potential ancestor of Australopithecus anamensis and its descendant Australopithecus afarensis actually overlapped in time, at least for 100,000 years between 3.9 and 3.8 million years ago. So this is a major discovery in terms of how we understand the phylogenetic relationships between those two.
With this new discovery, scientists say it challenges the idea that human ancestors evolved in a linear fashion.
Still to come on the program, our Africa Tech segment takes a look at the future of prosthetics in Nigeria. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.